Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. And today we are here for another great episode of our GMAT and MBA success stories. It's a pleasure to have you all. Thank you so much for watching us once again. And today's episode is very special for me for some reasons that I'm going to tell you all later on. But today we're gonna go over the story of a young lawyer that turned management consultant from Brazil who dreamed big. He dreamed getting into an MBA from one of the world's top business schools and working with big four consulting firms. GMAT started as the initial hurdle in his path, and when he took his first GMAT attempt, he got that 690 score with 35 on verbal. And he's going to tell us more about that, but he thought to himself, he asked himself what would be the best way to move forward. As a non-native, like many of us here, verbal was not letting him improve the GMAT. But he refused to give up, and we are very glad about it. He doubled his efforts, and he's going to explain to us what he did exactly and carefully analyze all his weakness. And within 5 months of relentless efforts, he scored 760 in his third GMAT attempt, which is just an amazing score within the 99 percentile in verbal. So this success paved the way for his acceptance from both Chicago Booth and Kellogg, two of the best MBA programs in the world, with $400,000 scholarships. We all love scholarships. So let's dive into the conversation with Mr. Lukas Sasaki, who is just here. And thank you so much, Lukas, for joining us.
Yeah, and thank you. And thank you so much for this introduction. I'm definitely feeling better about myself after that. Yeah, I'm happy to help.
Not at all. Not at all. I bet it's just a very short part of your amazing story, of the amazing path you paved toward this point. And I was just saying, Lucas, one of the reasons why this story is special for me is one, I'm Brazilian as well, as I just told you a few minutes ago. And two, I'm also a lawyer by training. So in Brazil, used to work for the Court of Justice. And three, I also use the MBA. You work in consulting already, but I use the MBA to start working into consulting, so to pivot careers. So we have a lot in common. I can see my story in yourself apart from the 760 GMAT score.
Yeah, we made it, right?
So how are you, Lucas? How is everything over there now that you have these GMAT score, the approvals, the admittances from the schools? How are you? Are you calling in from Brazil right now?
Yes, I'm currently in Brazil. I would say that I'm both excited and relieved that everything is like done right now. No more applications, no more GMAT tests, preoccupation. So yeah, definitely very excited for this next steps of this journey. And I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, good. Here, second year here at UVA Darden, Q3. People said it would be chiller, it would be calmer. It's not, but all good. Really have been enjoying it. And one question that I have to ask you, Lucas, before we go into all of the GMAT MBA questions, which city are you calling from?
I'm actually in São Paulo right now, but I'm from Belo Horizonte in the state of Minas Gerais.
Nice.
So,
Love it. I lived in São Paulo itself for 3 years before moving here to the US, and my wife's from Minas Gerais as well, but from the countryside, so even more aspects in common.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Sometimes we see like such coincidences happening in such a big road, and I mean, it's just impressive.
Exactly.
One thing to everyone watching us just before we kick off our questions here to Lucas. So feel completely free to send your questions here in the comments so we can ask him about anything at all regarding his MBA and GMAT journey. And please also remember subscribing to GMAT Club's channel and liking this video because it helps a lot to bring great candidates as Lukas here to share their experiences with you all. So to start it off, Lukas, as we were just saying, you were a lawyer working in consulting. When did it come to your mind, the idea to applying for an MBA?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I'm getting some sort of walk me through your resume vibe here. But yeah, initially, I even thought about doing an LLM while I was in law. So even though we both have the same background, I chose a bit of a different legal alternative. I work mostly with corporate law throughout my time there. So a lot of M&A deals, a lot of corporate structuring, corporate restructuring. And all of these initial experiences during the beginning of university led me to take an exchange period abroad. So I lived in Canada for a term. Mm-hmm. And there I decided not to study law, but I decided to study business and administration. And this completely opened my mind to there are a lot of things outside the small legal engine in the business world. So, and it was around this moment at the end of the university, while I was thinking what should I do next? Should I do an LLM? And for those who don't know, an LLM is some sort of an MBA equivalent, but for lawyers. And then when I was more into the business world, I really decided to go and shoot for an MBA. So, and I'm glad I did. So already out of law for a couple of years, worked in 2 different management consulting firms, initially a Brazilian one, later on, and I'm currently at Kearney, so more strategic management consulting. But yeah, I'm truly happy that made this choice. It was a difficult one, but yeah.
Amazing. And for people who are not yet working with business directly, what made you change, Lukas, from working with law, specifically to come into this more corporate business side of stuff?
Yeah. I would say that there are 2 steps for that. The first one, it's a lot of reflection. So when you're in law, you're studying so many different aspects of law: civil law, tax law, labor law, corporate law. And it's very easy to be immersed in this world and not truly see other opportunities. So the first step for me was a lot of reflection into really deciding, is this what I want? Are there any options? And within this reflection, and as I mentioned, throughout all my exchange period, I came to realize that even though I do like law and I love getting on a table and negotiating an M&A deal, I love this sort of stuff, and I'm really crazy to love contracts and all this stuff. But I came to realize that I wanted a bit more professionally wise and really get a sense of making the decisions and truly define the strategy that companies should set forth. So this was the first step, a lot of reflection. And now the second step is getting into a more hands-on experience. And you have several choices. You can go for consulting, you can shoot for industries. When you're just ending university, you have a bunch of trainees to go as well. I decided to go into a management consulting firm that was more focused on the operational and tactical perspectives of companies. So a lot of process restructuring, governance, structuring of companies, a lot of this stuff, to get a sense of how real business works. So when I go to an industry, how does this fits with that, and really get a sense of how things work within companies. And later on, I decided to move a step further and go into strategy to see more the strategic perspective of things. So how strategies are made, how you should we expand, should we buy a competitor? So it was a long journey, but a very rewarding one. And I truly say that these 2 steps are not easy to make. Both of them are quite hard, both the reflection as well as really getting into companies, but it's possible. I mean, we're here, both lawyers doing, and at least you are already doing it, your MBA. I'm a prospective student, so yeah, it's possible. It's possible to change.
Yeah, I completely agree. And many people ask me sometimes, and many people did ask when I was coming to the MBA, Lukas. They said are you leaving law behind, all that you studied and everything, all that package? And I always say that not at all, because I don't know if you think this way as well, but law school is something that you take with yourself for life. Even if you don't remember the specifics of laws, you will remember it gives you a new way of thinking about stuff. I think that 2 plus 2, it can be 4, but it can also not be 4. It always depends. It's very like the consultant's mindset, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's really hard to detach yourself from law, really. Like at least half of my family still think that I work with law, and when I tell them what a consultant does, like, yeah, so you work with law within a consulting firm? Yeah.
My family still doesn't understand, so I wouldn't have high hopes for that. But going into your, so you decided that you were going after an MBA, and everyone, please keep sending the questions. We're gonna ask them as we go through the topics. So you decided, okay, so I'm gonna take my MBA, and then you had to make a decision about which test you were going to take. Basically, you had the GMAT, you had GRE, executive assessment, some people that go for the waiver. How did you decide among all these different options?
Yeah, amazing. So the first thing I did, and like any good consultant, I needed to establish my baseline. So I did like a mock test, both on the GMAT. I did the first GMAT prep test, as well as a GRE one, to really get the vibe of what I wanted to like study for the next months. So, and I truly believe that this was like a perfect solution, because from the moment I began doing the GRE, it did not feel right. Like, I don't know, I'm not getting sense of these verbal questions. I've considered myself quite good in English, but even though like when it comes to like really answering questions, it was not that easy. The GMAT felt more right to me. So that's what I begin with. This was the first step, establishing my baseline, really deciding which test. And then it was all around about browsing different forums. Like, I read so many articles on GMAT Club and many other forums to really get a sense of what was the test about. So in this sort of test, sometimes it's more important to understand how the test works rather than just knowing all the content and just keep doing random questions. So this was my approach.
So your advice, from what I'm hearing, would basically be take one mock test, see how it goes, and try to identify how each of those tests work and what would be the best for you to move forward.
Yeah, and it does not even need to be like a real full test. Maybe take some questions, really get a sense of how they differ. And I mean, at least begin with what feels right for you. And maybe in the middle of your preparation, you'll see that, oh, yeah, I'm not evolving as much as I wanted. Let me try some other tests. But yeah, at least what really worked for me was really doing this 2 baseline tests and sticking with the GMAT. So long journey, but it worked.
Yeah, definitely. And one question that we have here that is a perfect segue to our next part from Ria. We're going to ask her question as well, Lorena, just a little bit later. And by the way, Lorena is a very Brazilian name, right, Lukas? So if you're from Brazil, say hi in Portuguese here in the chat. So from Ria, one question about your prep, Lukas, about the start of your prep. She has just started it, and her question is, how did you start and what points you took care in the beginning of your GMAT prep? So when you decided, I'm going to go for an MBA, 2, you decided, I'm going to go for the GMAT itself, and 3, how did you start it off?
Yeah. So I believe that in the beginning of your preparation, there is a lot of friction. So you're not used to doing tests. You're not used, maybe, I don't know, it depends on how far from university or high school you're taking the test. But at least for me, I was not very used to like taking a lot of questions. I haven't seen any sort of mathematics from the past couple of years. So there was a lot of friction. And to really like combat that friction, I believe consistency is the best word. and I'm gonna be quite honest with you. In the beginning of my preparation, I did a lot of questions and try to study and without a very structured way, in a very unstructured way actually, and it was it did not feel right. I was not evolving. So I really believe that in the second time, when I was yeah, let's do it, let's structure how many classes I'm gonna take a day. How do I fit this within my schedule? I was studying while working full time. The structure of my routine really helped me to get this friction off and really start moving the chains and learning more. So I believe that you need to start in a very structured way, really setting your goals and feasible goals, not shoot for the moon. It's not common, even though there are some outliers. It is not common to just take one first GMAT attempt and just take 800. So you really need to have consistency and discipline, begin slow, and then keep evolving as you go through this journey. So.
And considering that structure, Lukas, what were the main resources that you used for your prep?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the first thing to do was to understand the test. So I used a lot of GMAT Club, other forums as well, like MBA Mission, maybe Clear Admit, to really get a sense of what is this test here? What is this little monster that not little monster, what is this big monster that I'm starting to fight? To really get a sense of the word that you're getting into. There are a lot of huge materials, very, very structured materials regarding what sort of questions there are on the GMAT, like what is problem solving, what is data sufficiency, what's critical reasoning, sentence correction. And even though I'm talking about the old GMAT, I know that the new GMAT focus has had some changes, but even though I believe that the advice serves well, to really understand the test. After understanding the test, I believe that you need to structure your routine accordingly to study both quant and verbal as you wish. Specifically for me, a thing that worked a lot was Target Test Prep platform. Big shout out to all the team from TTP. It's an amazing platform that gives you a very structured study plan. I do know there are other alternatives as well that are quite good. So yeah, so really structured way, really understand how the test work. And after you got a sense of the word that you're getting into, then you begin your studies.
So would you say, Lukas, that's something essential for people we starting or in their journeys of study would be basically having a plan, having a structured plan of what you need the most, how you're going to tackle it, how you're going to manage it all?
Exactly. And even more for people who are doing this while on full-time jobs or part-time jobs, because it's so easy to get into the routine of just, oh, I have to work too much. I have so many long hours during work. If you don't really have a plan that fits your routine, that is a feasible plan, things you might really begin studying, and after 1 month, you'll just be overwhelmed with so many things, and then you start forgetting things because you're not training that much. So yeah, I would say that a plan, at least for me, is what really worked. So.
Nice. And that's even something I would love to ask you about. I'm glad you touched on that. So a lot of people struggle with time management, not test related, but when preparation related, because like you, they are working full time and they have to just try to reconcile all of that. So what was your strategy, Lukas, to reconcile your schedule, your daily schedule? And did you have a fixed routine? So let's say you would study X, Y, Z hours per day or per weekday versus per weekend. How was it all?
Yeah. And it's hard, I don't want to say that there's a magic solution to everything and you will just begin studying and everything is going to be all right. It's hard, and you really need to stick to it. For me, what worked actually was blocking a few hours on my day. So in the beginning of the day, wake up a bit earlier than I was used to, try to study 1.5, 2 hours, really focused on what you're doing. And later on, the rest of your day, it's the same as going to the gym. When you're like going lifting weights in the morning, then the rest of your day is like, okay, already did that, already had my win of the day. So, and I mean, during university, I studied during the morning, so it was a bit easier for me in that sense. But try to block hours in the day that's like, and really communicate. Like I communicate with all of the partners in the projects they're always into. Like, please, I need to study for this big test. And you don't even need to mention that it's for the MBA if you're not comfortable with. Just say, I don't know, you're doing some, you need those hours. I do know that this is not a reality for many people, mostly consultants, like doing due diligences and other very long hour projects. But at least try to book, even if it is like 1 hour, half an hour, at least every day you're getting the consistency of studying and getting better.
And do you have any advice, Lukas, for people who want to disclose it to their bosses, to their leaders, and are not sure how to do it exactly? Because I know that some companies are more open to that. So some others are like, hey, but we're going to lose an employee. They think you're just a number, sadly. So do you have any advice for how to best communicate that?
At least for consulting, I would say it's a bit easier because like all the employers, at least on big firms, are quite used to having their employees applying for the MBA. Some firms even like really proactively engage with them to help them in this journey. So for me, it was a more natural way. So I just really scheduled a meeting and just said, look, I believe that due to this and this and that, I'm in a point of my career that I'm ready to take the next step, and I really want to academically have this experience and be like really open with all the situation. In my case, both my bosses and my recommenders really understood and were quite supportive. But as I mentioned, I know that this varies a lot within industries, so it might get a little bit hard, and then you really need to get a sense of who to talk to. I would say this is like a very important thing. In my case, I needed to talk to one of my partners because he was going to be my recommender. So I truly needed him to know and be ready for that. But sometimes maybe disclosing to a peer from work, your direct boss, and not like the big boss. You need to really be open about it, in my opinion, so people really understand. There are a lot of options as well. You can say that you're preparing, I don't know, for CFA or anything like that. But in my opinion, the best thing is to really be open about it and explain your situation. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. That's amazing advice. And just before we go to the next question, everyone, thank you again for the audience. Feel free to send any questions to Lukas. I know we have 2 here pending that we're going to ask as we go. And remember, liking the video, subscribing to the channel. It helps GMAT Club a lot to keep bringing these amazing people here. And going to our next question, Lukas. So what would you say? Because as you said, and I know that pain, it's hard, the GMAT, and normally people don't get the score they would like to in their first try. So what would you say that changed between tries? So what did you change in your study preparation once you, let's say, did it the first time, you saw it didn't work quite as you wanted? The second time, what changed in each of those tries?
Yeah, so I like to say that on my first try, I was underconfident. On the second try, I was overconfident. And in the third one, I was okay with it.
You found the balance.
Yeah, I found the balance between them. So in my first try, I like really wanted to just get one score. I was studying for quite a few months already, done hundreds of questions. And even though I did not cover everything in the course that I was doing, I decided, yeah, let's just go for it. Who knows? Maybe I'm good enough. Maybe it's okay. And then I just got washed by the test. So It was a very hard test. I do believe that is a little bit of luck on that. Like I got some extremely hard reading comprehension questions, and it was like in the beginning of the verbal test, I was already, this is not going to go well. So I'm going to do my best here at least, but who knows? And I got a somehow good score. I wouldn't say that a 690. It's a bad score. There are so many people that get into business schools with the score, but I was still underconfident. So I was not really ready to do everything. From my first attempt to the second attempt, I began doing mock tests. And I would say that this was the most fundamental part of my whole preparation, because of course you need to know all the rules. Of course you need to know how to do the mathematic. Of course you need to know the sentence correction mistakes that you should avoid. But for me, doing mock tests was like the huge leap that it took my score way up. But in the second test, I was not ready yet, but I was overconfident. So I just got to the score. Yeah, I did so many mock tests. I'm taking like 740, 760 on this test. Let's just go and take this test out of here. And then I got a 700, and I was like, yeah, I still believe that I could do more, but I was so confident that I was going to shoot for 800, and this is such a huge mistake. And then a few weeks later, I continue doing many mock tests. I really saw that, a 700 is a good score. I can really get into amazing business schools with that. I'm just going to go this third attempt, continue studying, but be more relaxed, be more chill, really confident, but not overconfident. Let's truly hope that I shoot for the best, even though I can get a worse score. I'm just going to do my best here. And then it was this moment that my score skyrocketed. So it was when I found the balance of being underconfident to overconfident to really finding the balance and the confidence to do your best. Regardless, you find a difficult question within the exam, let's do it. You find an easy question, let's do it. You're not thinking anymore about, oh, this is an easy one, I should probably get it right. Oh, this is a hard one, I'm doing really bad at this stuff. So you just go, you just enter in the GMAT flow state.
I would just say you just go with the flow, right?
Yeah.
We have a very nice meme in Brazil about that. By the way, I won't mention it here because people might not understand. Never mind. And into that context, Lukas that just had taken different attempts. Sakshi, I'm sorry, Sakshi, if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly, feel free to correct me. So she asked, what were your scores that you mentioned already, but also how long were the gaps between these tries, the time gaps?
Amazing. In the first score, actually in my first attempt, just to give a sense of my baseline, I did that first mock test from GMAT Prep. It was way before, but I got a 640, which is an initial test. I believe it's maybe a good initial test. But on my first official attempt, I got a 690. I don't remember quite the specifics, but I believe it was quantitative 48 and verbal 30. 36, 37. I don't remember quite the specifics. Then I got on the second attempt a 700. Between the first and the second one, I would say probably 3 weeks, 1 month. And then from the second attempt to the third attempt, I would say the same, about 3 weeks to 1 month. But the things that I did between this tests were quite different. So between the first and the second attempt, it was in the initial preparation of mock tests. So I was doing 1 or 2 mock tests per week, and it was a very confidence boost for me. I did different mock tests from different companies and different organizations. We can definitely talk about that as well if you want. And during the first to the third attempt, I was doing way more mock tests. I was very much, I got a GMAT week off at Kearney. So I truly immersed myself during some time to really study and reviewing a lot of mistakes. So I believe the biggest change is review your mistakes, because you can learn by doing questions, but you can learn even more by reviewing what your mistakes were and avoid repeating them. So, yep, that's it.
Nice. And yeah, it would be great, Lucas, if you could touch upon the different mock tests. And I'm glad, Sakshi, that I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah. So the first one I did, I began with mock test 1 and 2 from the GMAT official test prep. There are the free ones. Later on, I moved to Manhattan, the Kaplan tests. They are very hard. I mean, the quant part is not very similar to the official GMAT test, I would say. But yeah, I did all the six mock tests. And a tip that I would give, I don't know if it works for everyone, but you can definitely look that up, is specifically for the quantitative mock tests within Manhattan. I added 10 minutes to the quantitative section. So you can really and believe me, even with the 10 minutes, I still did everything with 1 minute left. So, and then do the verbal way with the normal time. So just go for it. I really like those tests. And later on, I got back and did the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth official test prep as well. So totaling around 12 to maybe I did some other tests outside of the platform. I did the GMAT Club as well, a really good one. And that's it. I believe I did around 14 tests, mock tests before.
And since you mentioned, Lucas, this time aspect, for example, adding this extra 10 minutes to one of them, to the quant part. So time management wise now regarding the test taking experience, how did you work on that internal clock in your mind? Like, hey, I have to go over all the questions, each one of them on average 2.5 minutes. How did you work on that time management aspect?
Yeah, it works differently for different people. I saw two types of people. I saw the first one that was like, let's just do it. I'm going to do it and do the best as you can, go for it. And don't really be so crazy about time. I'm not this guy. I'm a little bit obsessed with time. And what I did was I had this sort of, and I saw this in a website. I don't remember the correct source, but it was at the end of your fifth question, you should have X minutes left on your time. At the end of your 15th question, you should have X minus Y minutes on time. And this really helped me because in the beginning, I used to go over the clock every time. Oh, so I have this many seconds per question, and I was wasting my time doing this every single question, so establishing this small milestones during the test really helped me to within the 5th and the 15th question, I'm doing okay. Maybe I'm going to lag a bit behind and then I'll get to catch up during the test, but these little milestones truly helped me to establish the right time and know when I had to catch up, when I could really do a question with more time. At the end of my preparation in the third attempt, I would say that the quantitative section, I was doing it way ahead of time. I finished the test with, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. I should have used this 5 minutes because I could get a 50 maybe, who knows. But yeah, I truly believe that this milestone method, the second one, helped me.
Nice. And just for everyone to know, it's already very hard to get this quant score for all people on the GMAT. For lawyers, it's even harder.
Yeah.
I can say for myself that it's even harder. Yeah. The quant part, I know that. So you ended up struggling more, you would say, Lucas, with the verbal aspect of the test?
Yeah, I would say so. I was very good at mathematics while in high school, even though I'm a lawyer. And I don't really like this, even though I'm a lawyer. I truly believe that lawyers have
Shoot.
every skill necessary for going for the MBA and for the GMAT, regardless of your background. If you're like a doctor, if you're a nutritionist, you can do it. Just trust yourself. Maybe you will need to study a bit more some aspects that you did not have contact in the past years, but you can definitely do it. Don't be underconfident here. But yeah, the hard part, the hard part for me was to really get this boost in the verbal, this last boost in the verbal score that you need to really improve your score. So I was already getting like a 48, 49. I believe I scored only 150 during mock tests, but I was already a bit confident within this range. I was shooting for 40, 48, 49. But then the verbal was fluctuating a lot. So when I was doing mock tests, sometimes I would get like a 42, like a 43, and then go down to a 36, 35. And this consistency within scores was the hardest part for me. I do believe there is a bit of sense of luck within like the test scores. You cannot disregard all the luck of this test, as Malcolm Gladwell put in outliers, like luck. There's a huge amount of luck within the process, but you need to focus on what you can control. And this is really studying, checking your mistakes, see what are you doing wrong. And for me, it was definitely sentence correction, and later on reading comprehension. So those two, man, it was hard. Yeah.
I know the thing. I know. And just before, by the way, I'm getting so annoyed with my chair. It keeps going down. Maybe I'm just too heavy for it. I got so many extra pounds when I went to Brazil for winter break. So let's not
Food is good
talk
here.
about that.
Food is good.
But before we transition, Lukas, to the next part of your journey to the applications, is there something you think we haven't touched regarding the GMAT that you would like to talk about, or is that okay?
Yeah, I believe we talk a lot. I would just reinforce, like, really, the word is consistency. Keep doing the best as you can. Trust yourself. You're gonna get to the other side, like, and really, and like sometimes you get like a score that you might not feel like is the best one, but yeah, I believe that is a little bit of overrated regarding the GMAT scores. Like, you can really get to amazing schools with not such great scores. But if you think that you can do, like, shoot for the stars, like, go for it. Be confident in yourself, trust yourself, and definitely things are going to work out. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all the advice on that. And transitioning, Lukas. Okay, so you had your GMAT score 760. So you were about to go to the next phase, to the application journey. So getting Lorena's question as a great segue here, what was the most challenging aspect of the process for you? So was it the GMAT aspect, or was it the essay crafting and interviews aspect?
Well, time-wise, regarding the time it took, definitely the GMAT. Like, the GMAT took me a lot of hours of work and study. So I would say this is the most challenging aspect regarding time. But when you think about the application phase and doing all the essays, there's a lot of self-reflection in this work. I saw different consultants that really did not have their stories already like rounded up during the application, and they struggled. So you should not like really just underestimate the time it takes to reflect and really put your best self out there, like, because you have one chance in the first round, you have other chances on the second round, but you really need to shoot to be your best self during this application, and this takes a lot of self-reflection. I believe that since I've already transitioned from law to managed consulting, this whole transition helped me to get a better sense of who I wanted to be and the sort of professional I was and why I was making this change. So this really hard transition actually helped me as well during when I was telling my stories. Like, I already knew a bit what I wanted to talk about, how I wanted to express myself, but it takes time as well. So in the GMAT, I believe we talk how to overcome, and during the application phase, it's hard. For me, I work with a consultant, an MBA consultant. This truly helped me as well to really understand how I should write things. Obviously, you are the one in charge. You are the one driving the car at the end. So it's your story. But getting a little bit of help on the background, it's quite valuable as well. So.
And there is something that hearing you talk about the essays, I remembered. I absolutely love Adam Grant. And in one of his books, he mentions exactly the fact that you should do what you do, like as if it were the one and only job from you that people would see. So you should do it to your best. Like you said, that doesn't mean being a perfectionist. That means doing your best for that given moment with the tools that you have. So I can definitely resonate with all that you said. And having all of that, Lukas, so you had your GMAT score, you were ready to go for the essays, you had started reflecting on what you should communicate to those schools. But before you really communicate that, how did you choose which schools you were going to apply to? What was the criteria you used?
There are so many great sources for that. The first thing I did was to just browse their websites. So just go at University of Chicago website, search everything about it. Go for Harvard, go for Dardenne, go for every school that you can imagine that you're going to. At least I section mine at least in the top 20 from past rankings. I know that rankings change a lot, but just get a sense of where the 20 best schools in the US, and a lot of browsing and understanding this. But there is a very important thing about schools during the application, that is truly understanding their culture. And this is hard because I'm not in the school. How can I understand how Booth's community differs from Kellogg's community if I'm really not immersed in the school? And for this second part, what helped me a lot was the guides from MBA Mission, but as well as talking to so many alumni. So really, just go for it. Us Brazilians are not very used to networking, and it's a bit hard. I imagine that you might have struggled with this in the first year.
Absolutely.
But I mean, just go for it. Look someone on LinkedIn. The school sites have many ways that you can connect you with alumni as well. Try to get a sense of how the school works, and with a few conversations, you're already getting, okay, so Booth has this flexible curriculum that molds a lot of the way of thinking. It's a very empiric school, a very academically rigorous school. You get a sense. So on the other side, Kellogg has a great community, such a profound care for each other and for being and working as a team. Oh, maybe Harvard that has this trait, Wharton has this other trait. Don't stick to the first layer, because we have Kellogg is great for marketing and consulting. Oh, Booth is for finance. Not really, get to the second layer, truly understand the culture, truly see what schools really fit your personality, and go for it, and create. I have 2 lists. The initial list had 20 schools. Then I cut it down to 10, and then I cut it again to 5 schools that I was applying. I ended up applying to 6, but just really. And this is what I was talking. It takes time, the same time block that you did for the GMAT. Try to keep with this time block after you've done your score. I know it's hard. I know that you just want to chill. Okay, the GMAT is over. Try to have a 30-minute time or 1 hour time every day to really look the schools up, to read blogs, read forums. like GMAT Club, for example, has so many different forums, so many different alums as well from schools, so many people that can help you understand the schools better. I would say that this strategy is just like try to funnel your mind within, like get this huge pool and then like go choosing from this initial pool. Yeah.
And as you said, Lucas, and I think that this is something very unique to the American culture, and that's different in many countries. For us, being from Brazil, it really is not that common for you to have to do so much networking. And it goes not only for the MBA journey, but for recruiting, for basically the even post that, even after that, it is a labor force, it is a business world that works a lot on the basis of networking. So it's not only you doing your job right, you're doing your job in a very nice manner, but also about you networking and keeping those connections. So this is something that goes a long way, definitely. And once you had, as you said, those schools, Lucas, once you went through this funnel, go into the reflections that would base your essays. And before we talk about those, if I don't say that, people are going to get mad at me. So please remember liking the video and subscribing the channel, or you're not going to see me here anymore. And moving forward on the question, once you had gone through this funnel of really checking which schools you would prefer applying to in terms of community, curriculum, and all of those factors, what based your reflections, or even asking a better question here, how would you advise people to go about their reflections to base the essays? They should base the reflections on the questions themselves, or make a preliminary reflection that would base the answers? How did you go about that?
Yeah. And again, in a structured way, and this specific part was with a lot of help from my MBA consultant. How we structure, at least. I did like a huge document talking about everything in my life, all sorts of aspects, like since age 0 to 6 and what happened during my childhood, like how was it? Did I had like any sort of hardship during life? How I overcame? To go all the way through all my professional experiences, everything I did in high school, everything I did in university, everything I did professionally wise. Really have like this, do a due diligence of yourself, so really understand what's your standpoint. And this is a good thing. So you, at the end, you don't forget to mention anything interesting about you. And then it begins a more complex process of really tailoring your stories to what you want to express on how you want to express. For me specifically, after doing like all of this reflection, I saw that mergers and acquisitions, M&A, was like a guiding thread throughout my life. But more than only mergers and acquisitions, that is like more professional, it was a sense of fostering growth. So I really like to do that, like to really get a company and grow it, to really like see when an acquisition happens, combining the company and getting a better outcome. Like 1 + 1 is not 2, is 3 or 4 or 5 if you get the synergies in. And I like, from all of this reflection, I started to see like a guiding thread of M&A as well as of growth, of fostering growth, and throughout my whole life. And then, boom, I had like the initial idea of my first essay for many schools. Like when they ask about you and your professional and personal experiences, I just started to talk about how I love to foster growth and how I could help the community of the school in this sense. And at the same time, for me, the hardest part was the second essay from Chicago Booth. That was a more personal perspective. And this one, like, it really hits hard when you have your essay that talks about your whole life and you're very, like, reflecting about everything. But yeah, always in a structured way, Fernando. It's important. It's just like playing a guitar, just because you learn chords and you learn how to do some finger pick, it doesn't mean that you're not that you're destroying creativity. It actually means that you now have the tools to foster your creativity inside you. So try to do in a really structured way of like, yeah, let's divide in chunks. So I'm going to talk about things in my childhood, during my high school years, during university, professionally wise. Let's try to pick the best things out of the scenarios and see if I can make a whole story out of it.
I absolutely love that approach. I'm going to say why after I raise my chair again, that it dropped once again. But I love this approach of reflecting beforehand. So you have the tools to do the work you need to do. Because I feel, Lukas, I don't know if you have noticed that many people, when they are about to go into the essays, instead of doing this like big reflection and really putting it out there, what happened, what can base their stories, they go straight to the questions. I want to answer this question, and then many times they end up losing the big picture of their lives. So I absolutely love this approach of really having the tools so you can go into there and just like get it done with what you have reflected already.
And if you don't mind, I'm sorry to interrupt you for
no, not at all.
Just to add on that, like to leave the word of ideas out and like truly show you how this helps pragmatically within the essays. Like when I already like reflected about a lot of stories in my life, when I was searching more deeply into each school, many times I looked at something from Chicago Booth, for example, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this story that combines perfectly with what they're saying. That is one of their core values of a thing that a class that I saw from a professor X is like, oh, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want to do because of this and that experience that I had. So it truly helps you to define the school that you want at the end, and be open to change. Like sometimes you begin researching for a university and then you find out that there's nothing to do with you. So be open to embrace this change. But really knowing yourself truly helps you see this points of contact between you and the school and the community that you want to get into. So, yeah.
Nice. No, that's amazing advice. And once you had already applied, Lukas, you sent your applications. So for the interviews, last part of this long application journey, did you do some specific preparation? That's one question. And two, did you start preparing for the interviews even before you heard back from schools, or you waited for that?
Yeah, for most of them, I waited, to be honest. At least for Kellogg, that has like a higher interview approval rate, usually. I already prepared right away. I was quite confident that I was going to be interviewed. But yeah, I waited. Like, it's not that much of a long time, just a couple of weeks. So just chill. Like, remember not to forget everything that you talked about. You really gonna need everything. But yeah, after being called up to interview, I try to schedule like 2 weeks ahead. Sometimes it's not possible, so yeah, be aware of that. But I try to schedule it 2 weeks ahead, so I definitely had the time to prepare myself for it. And interview is all about training, really. At least for me, like I did not train that well for some of the interviews, and I got rejected. So and when I trained, like I was very much into Booth since the beginning of my preparation. So like Chicago was my first option. And I trained so hard for that interview, like really, really hard. And it pays out. So yeah.
And just before we finalize here our session, I would love to ask you two last questions, Lukas. So one is from Sakshi. Thank you, Sakshi, for being here with us until this time. So before being accepted, basically, how did you deal, Lukas, with rejections? And could you say like what were the reasons for that? Could you diagnose those?
Yeah, rejections are hard. Yeah, they hit hard because you prepared so much for so long, and then you like get a rejection, and you open that, you click that button to see the result, and it's like, yeah, unfortunately, we'll not be able to consider you. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But at the end, you need to bounce back. And the way that I at least bounced back was with hope. Like I had a lot of schools, so at the end, in the first rejection, I was like, yeah, okay, we still have a lot of schools to go. Let's do it. We can do it. It's hard. It's really hard, but at least having different options was a good thing for me. If I had applied for like 2 schools and the first one rejected me, I would be a little bit more stressed. Uh, but yeah, it ain't easy. So at least I think that when you go through all the reflection phase and the application phase, you can get quite confident with the story that you told, and yeah, really trust the process in the end. Like so many people talk about that, but yeah, trust the process. Like you will get into a university, you will get into an amazing university that fits your profile if you did the right things and apply for the schools that really matter to you, did your homework of getting the points, the best points of contact with the university. What would I say were the reasons for rejection? Oh, that's a good one. I don't know. Before the interview is quite hard. I got rejected straight ahead from Harvard and Wharton, which are like 2 of the most competitive universities in the world. So there's a huge pool of excellent applicants, and I'm quite certain that there are a lot of amazing people going there this year. I don't know. They're both good schools. Would love to get interviewed by them, but at the same time, I see myself more aligned with other schools' culture. So this might be why I was not selected. Who knows? Yeah. So it's hard. It's hard, but you need to bounce back at the end. So.
And indeed, when you get the rejection letter, I got those too, and it's always like, okay, it's not you, it's me, but sadly we won. You say, okay, so could you give me a reason or something? So I always tell people, and I kept telling that to my coaches here for recruiting. I think it's always an opportunity for you to reflect on what you could have done better. There is always this opportunity, but at the same time, you have to be conscious that, for example, at least for recruiting, at least some companies give you feedback, so you can reflect on that specifically. But for the MBA, it's just that letter. It's not true. It's me. Sorry. So, okay, it is a time for reflection, but just be mindful, like you said, Lukas, I think keep going, keep pushing forward, and just you're gonna find a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And last question, Lukas, here is from Lorena. Thank you also, Lorena. Obrigado for being obrigado is thank you for those who don't know Dhanyavad. I won't start just saying thank you in all the languages here, but thank you for being with us here until this point, Lorena, as well. So last question here would be, what are you most excited about now, Lukas, that you have been accepted to your dream school?
Oh, wow. Both about the past and the future. So excited about everything I did, like really proud of going through the process. It's not easy. It's a hard process, and it's so fun when it's such an amazing moment when you open the website and just got your approval letter from any university. So yeah, take your time to celebrate. It's not an easy process. So when it gets to the end, like really be proud of yourself. This in the past and the future, like super excited for all the opportunities, like not only professionally, but even more personal wise. Like there's so many things that are going to change in life now. And yeah, I'm loving to embrace this change and really like have some months to reflect on everything that I did. How can I get better? And yeah, why I got rejected to those schools. Maybe I can find something that helped me not get rejected into a job opportunity. I can improve myself during this month. So super excited for this never-ending journey of learning. So yeah, it's a good feeling, man. Yeah, it's a very good feeling to be in this position when you already got accepted and you see that the hard work pays off and you really trust the process. So yeah.
And you definitely deserved it. Congrats, Lukas, for all the journey, for all the work you have done to get to this point. And before we call it to an end, any last words you would like to say to people watching us here?
Yeah, I'm here to help. Like, really, if you want to reach out, like, you can like get my email, reach out through LinkedIn. I could definitely, I would love to help you guys. I've gone through everything that you're probably going through, all the thoughts, all the doubts. So yeah, I'm really here. Just remember, be consistent, even though you do not have a lot of time. Try to be as consistent as possible. Discipline is not an easy thing, but it will help you through life, not only in this GMAT and application preparation, but through your MBA years as well. So go for it. Yeah.
And with this amazing advice, I would like to thank everyone here watching us to this point. Thank you so much for the audience, everyone. Thank you, Lukas, once again. Congrats for all your journey. Wishing you lots of success. From here on, I'm sure you will have it. And hope to see you all in our next session here at GMAT Club. Thank you once again, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.